Welcome to Arakko Public Radio, your weekly dose of X-Men comic chat, and I'm Rod. This is the Tim Sale to my Jeff Loeb, my one and only Comega Mutant Keegan. This week, we are talking Immortal X-Men number 6, X Death to the Mutants number 2, New Mutants 29, Marauders number 6, Wolverine 24, and a couple more. Before we get into it, though, let's play Who's Rod this time, where I'll read 3 mutant quotes, and you get to tell me who said them. 2 out of 3, you win. You up for it?
Yeah, okay, I am.
When you wake from this earthly slumber, my friend, look for me. I'll be there, waiting for you, radiant and with open arms.
Oh gosh, I don't know. My brain is not working right now.
No worries. That's your boy Nightcrawler to Wolverine in House of X.
Son of
All right. I've got more hours in a cockpit than I do in therapy, son. And let me tell you, I have done the work.
Okay, that's is that Cyclops?
That is Cyclops,
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, you're 1 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's the clincher. It's good to travel the harder road sometimes. After all, if we never tested our limits, we might assume we had some.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So I have no clue. I'm just gonna throw out. Is that Xavier?
No, close. That's Magneto.
Okay.
I feel like I picked that one because we finally next week get the hour of Magneto and we get to see him push to his limits.
Yes. Oh man, that was a good one. You got me stumped.
So I will be honest. I think I'm out of games now. So we'll probably start. We're gonna start repeating some, but
yeah, I'm fine with cycling some through.
All right. Outside of X-Men, how was your week?
Solid week. Good comics to read. Watched an episode of Ring of Power, which was great.
Perfect.
But that's about it. Yours?
Good. I was gonna ask you, do you have a favorite non-X comic you read this week, or
favorite non-X comic that I read this week? I mean, almost certainly Batman.
Hard to go wrong with Batman of Zernar, failsafe. Absolutely great issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I would say the most fun I had was Flashpoint Beyond. I am loving the just meme-worthy insanity that is that whole story. Yeah, and the fact that it spoiled the end of what's supposed to be their big event. Like, it was basically just Jeff Johns saying, "Don't worry about Dark Crisis. Here's what happens after." I loved it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
All right, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's jump in.
We got a lot to talk this week.
Yeah, quite a few books. Like, wow.
We're going to jump straight into Immortal X-Men number 6. We open with the scene from Judgment Day number 3, where Sinister telepathically fills Destiny in on the scheme to kill the Celestial. We see the Quiet Council vote, and the moment Destiny realizes it was all a ruse, then the Celestial takes the form of Mystique to give her the thumbs down. Not for attempting to control the future, but instead for lying to her team about it. We move to the Quiet Council meeting following the failed attempt to kill the Celestial, where they discuss the tests that are getting doled out. Emma Frost reveals she failed. Kitty Pryde reveals that she passed. Destiny lies about her test, claiming she was tested by a vision of her mother. We see a flashback to Sebastian Shaw as a young child in his father's study, begging him to come play with him. Jacob Shaw callously sends him away, suggesting his time is valuable, and Sebastian didn't even have a measly $1 million to give him. This leads to a teenage Shaw visiting his father's grave and burning $1 million, assuring his father it was a donation to God to keep the hellfire burning nice and hot. In the present, Storm and Professor X have to attend to the war, but make it clear the council is not to make decisions without them again. And Emma reveals that the Outcast Eternals are looking to form an alliance. Shaw sees this as an opportunity, and the council reluctantly agrees to let him take point. Exodus faces his judgment, a temptation to save former lover Eobar from the fires of hell by swapping places. While the rest of the council watches on, Shaw inserts himself, breaking the illusion and saving Exodus. Later, Shaw is tempted at the Hellfire Gala by a business opportunity to make a fortune by providing sentinels to Orcus, and he doesn't hesitate to take the deal. He reveals he knew it was a test all along and that his actions would fail, but turns expecting to see his father and instead sees the Celestial as a projection of Emma Frost. He rages, not at failing, but at the Celestial presuming he cared what Emma thought. We see him, however, meet with Star Fox and take the alliance deal instead. The issue ends with him summoning Mother Righteous. So we got a lot of character work this issue. We also moved some big pieces forward.
Yeah, I thought that this issue was incredibly cool. I was kind of curious, like, how are they going to make Sebastian Shaw's like issue for Immortal X-Men interesting?
Absolutely.
And,
I think it made sense to do it during the crossover so they could tie it in with the Judgment, but it's the first time I've ever sympathized with Sebastian Shaw.
Honestly, I was like, wait a minute. Wait, is he cool?
To an extent, yeah, there is a coolness factor there.
There absolutely was. Like, between his dad being his dad.
Yeah.
But also just like the whole. Yeah.
Well, I also loved him thinking he was a step ahead of the Celestial and then being so mad at being one-upped by the rivalry with him and Emma is just so great.
It's so fantastic. And it's so well done, especially in this issue.
Absolutely. There's going to be a running theme this week of we see a lot of close reads on a lot of characters' judgment. I don't know if this is where all the tie-ins are going now, or if this was just this week because we're in between 3 and 4. But we saw probably 20 people's like judgment visions this week, so we can move through who we saw in this book. Emma's, we only got that one glimpse of her seeing all of her students, but I feel like she had one of the most visceral reactions we saw. Like, it looked like it absolutely destroyed her.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much it actually struck her, this judgment.
What do we think about Kitty not just passing, but passing with like nothing? Like, what is it she says? Like, she doesn't even get like a vision. It's just she was just told like, yep, you passed, and that was it.
Yeah, what was it? I passed. Not even sure what I did. Healthy eating and early nights, I'll bet. It just looked like a creepy Celestial for me.
It takes me back to the trying to figure out how the inner workings of its decision making goes. That it seems like some people are getting really intricate illusions. Some are getting illusions. We talked about Shaw being able to interrupt exoduses. So some of them are completely like inside of dreams. Some are corporeal and people can affect them. Some are just quick. Hey, yep, you pass. It seems like the stakes are really inconsistent and the amount of work it takes are really inconsistent. And it doesn't seem like it's tied to villainy versus heroism or any of those sorts of things. So I'm really curious what's making the Celestial take an interest in some characters.
Yeah, it's super interesting in that aspect because it's like every time we think we understand the rules of judgment, they change them on us in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and part of it, like, I could see the argument that, it's just 8 different writers working on a crossover. There's always inconsistencies, but I don't think it's inconsistency because Kieran Gillen is writing half the books here. I think it's intentional, but I can't nail down what it is.
No, absolutely. Like, even if it wasn't, half of them are written by Gillen, it's just the fact that, like, the inconsistencies seem to confuse even the people being judged.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not just confusing to us because it's like different. It's confusing to them too.
We're seeing it referenced, and we're seeing it referenced more often. Like, yes. as we spend more time with it, there's more characters calling out the fact that there's no consistency.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, this week being such a heavy judgment week, I think was really effective in just rewriting the way it works every time you turn a page.
Absolutely. And I think it was really intentional because we had 3 last week and 4 next week, right? So we had a 2-week gap between this double shipping event, and all of the tie-ins gave us a different rule set, it felt like.
Yeah.
Very, very cool stuff. We saw Destiny. I thought Destiny's judgment was another case of Kieran Gillen making me sympathetic for a character that I had forgot existed 2 years ago. Like until she was brought back, I didn't really think much of her. I knew Mystique was trying to bring her back, but Kieran Gillen has got me to really feel sympathy for this woman. And the fact that she got called out for being so willing to lie about her powers and lie about her circumstances, and she immediately lies to the council about her circumstances again, was really moving. Like, she didn't want to admit that Mystique had such power over her.
Yeah. That also, just the art of the progenitor Mystique, like, really got me. Like, that was creepy.
It's really amazing what just giving that red eye can do, because we're going to talk the Marauders, Dakin, like that whole sequence was absolutely, there's so many instances where just giving it that creepy eye and the cocky grin just makes a character so much more terrifying.
Yes, absolutely.
We talk Exodus. His was definitely more to set up Shaw's reaction to it, but I do think that was kind of the first confirmation, or the closest to confirmation we have, of Exodus's sexuality.
Yes.
Like, I think it's been implied that he was interested in men, but I believe that was the closest, if not the first confirmation we've ever gotten.
Yeah, I can't think of anything, that's like that clear.
Oh, and the imagery there, there's the one shot of him reaching up, and that was the what is that?
The painting.
Adam the painting. I can't think of the name of the painting. I'm gonna Google it now.
The Adam and God painting.
Yeah, the Adam and God painting. The one that Arrested Development had a whole episode dedicated to reenacting. That was really funny.
Yeah.
But that scene both confirmed some of these judgments have the ability for other characters to interact with, and we saw the sympathetic side of Shaw really drilled home that he was not going to let Exodus sacrifice himself in that situation. Was really powerful, I thought, and again made me sympathize with a character I could not give a crap about like 6 months ago. I feel like, I saw him as
it was Exodus and Shaw. I don't particularly care for either character, and that moment was so good.
Yep.
I just the imagery of like Shaw walking down these steps as his clothes burn away. It's really cool.
The art in this book is stunning.
It's so good.
It is amazing to me that a book is as good as this, and I still have an X-Men book I prefer over it. Like, it is. We are feasting on quality X-Men content right now.
Incredibly so. Like, it every time I read an Immortal X-Men issue, I'm like, how do I like Red better than Immortal? But then the next issue of Red comes out, I'm like, that's how.
It is like 1A and 1B now. Like, I don't even think I can just say they're 1 and 2. Like, they are so both perfect.
Absolutely.
It was interesting seeing Mother Righteous, because so far she's only been in Legion of X. So this feels like we got a little bit of an opening last week, and I feel like the floodgates are open, that we are getting merging and crossing over of the different books. We saw here, we got a little bit of spoiler in this book I didn't cover, but we did get some kind of major X-Men Red spoilers before the Red issue comes out.
Yeah.
Really frustrating to get spoilers for the most anticipated book before the most anticipated book hits.
Yeah. Some of the timing like gets really confusing to me. It's like, if you're going to delay one book and then the other one spoils it, I feel like at that point just delay them both. But
delay both books. Yep. One, I don't know the printing speed, but a 1 week difference, like you assume they're sitting there in stacks by this point. So you could either rush out Red or hold this back a week. Absolutely.
Yeah, you would think.
So a couple of weeks ago, I gave you my theory on the Sinister Secrets leading into the Sins of Sinister, or Season of Sinister,
yes.
whatever that crossover is.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the Sinister Secret for this issue was?
Yes, I do, actually.
This one was pretty good. Okay. So it was, is an island nation going to be destroyed? Maybe, but don't worry, it's not ours. He was talking about Iceland. I love it so much.
It's so good. Like, I love the way they use Sinister. I really do.
Such a cocky little shit. I love him so much. Well, and it just shows you, and I mean, we've seen it in other places, but it shows you the groundwork Kieran Gillen puts in. That he's got all of these beats planned out so far in advance. I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of beats laid out, I was really starting to worry we had abandoned Colossus completely. So it was nice to see Destiny reference like something's up with him, which means she doesn't know what's up with him. She doesn't know his brother's controlling him. But it's nice to have a character acknowledge that's messed up.
Yeah.
He's not acting like himself. We didn't really talk about the data page. I thought that was a really fun way to show how she works her powers. So it's a data page when they're doing the recap of the first of Judgment Day 3 from their perspective, and it shows the odds of each character voting yes for the assault on the Celestial, and it's broken down into 3 categories. It's like if they know the whole truth, if I obscure the danger, and if Xavier's not there. And she's got the percentage for each character, and then there's like little notes where it breaks down like her thoughts on each character.
That data page, I feel like it did a lot of work. It did like a lot of footwork for characterization.
Absolutely.
Because like the Colossus point, incredibly good. The fact that Mystique or Raven is more likely to vote yes if more people get hurt. Like, what?
That was going to be my line of the issue. I just thought that was so great. Well, and you've got it up because she says it's a little worrisome or something along those lines.
Yeah. So the exact wording is that Raven is less likely to vote for the plan if it's less likely to kill humans. Makes even me pause. I love her, however. Ellipsis.
I love that whole page. We said it last week. I think we said it the week before. The data pages are perfect.
They're so good. Like, and that one, like, that made me pause too. I was like, wait a minute. that's bad.
Question for you.
Yeah.
What are we doing with Star Fox? Like,
what
that
are
was
we doing with Star Fox?
That was the big reveal of issue 3. Was like, oh look, Star Fox. And then I feel like we've seen him like 8 times this week, and every time it's either showing the same scene from a different perspective, or is like a short dialogue here of like him making the deal with the X-Men.
Yeah,
it just feels.
I don't know where we're going with him, and maybe next week there will be something, or I don't know. Like they just had to kill some time to get to the right point. Maybe it was one of those things where they're like, okay, he's here. We can't unring that bell, but we can't use him for what we're trying to use him for yet.
We can't move that plot forward, so let's just reference the plot.
Yeah.
Axe, Death to the Mutants #2. We open in London with the Machine updating us on college student Sally, who would rather talk about poetry than deal with Judgment Day happening around her. We find out she's been DMing a new friend who's been getting poetry recommendations. The Mimitar! Yes, the same Mimitar currently sieging Krakoa. Kor, the leader of the Deviants, is negotiating with Emma Frost, offering allegiance and a little flirting. Kor leads the Deviants to protect Krakoa while the X-Men head to other tasks. The Progenitor tests Kor, asking why he led his people to likely death to defend the mutants. And Kor's answer not only passes himself, but the entirety of Deviant society. Uranos is visited by the Celestial, but promises he's not done. It's too soon to judge him yet. The Outlaw Eternals, who the Machine refers to as its friends, are seen debating their next move, and the Celestial asks each if they would still activate him if they knew what they know now. Phastos passes, Makari fails, and Ajax gets kind of a deferred judgment. The Celestial reveals Phastos passed because he tried to give the X-Men the means to end this, and that causes the Eternals to fight each other. We see Cersei free Star Fox in an expanded version of the scene from Judgment Day #3, and then it's back to Sally, who fails her test for procrastinating. She gives Mimitar the bad news, who reveals it's also probably going to fail, but for something else entirely, as we see it eviscerating 3 Deviants in a hailstorm of fire. This issue felt way less important than the first one, but was so fun.
Yeah. The stakes felt much lower, like you said, but man, was it a good issue.
The Mimitar as a million-year-old teenager. The most Kieran Gillen thing that Kieran Gillen has ever Kieran Gillened, but I loved it. That was so funny.
I loved it because, like, at first there was a part of me that was like, is this like a kid that
is this a dick kid with a bad screen name?
That thought he was very funny, like, you know, like the kids that would make it after like actual horrific people,
sure,
you know, that kind of thing. But then, like, no, it's actually just the Mimitar asking for recommendations on like Sylvia Plath.
So good, so good. Other comedy moments in there. I loved the moment where the machine is just narrating and the Celestial calls it out outright, like, and make sure it knows it's getting judged too. Like, I see your quippy little narration. You're not gonna get out of this without being judged. And then if you notice, the machine's tone shifts. It starts to take things a little more seriously the back half of the issue.
Yep, I thought that was excellent. I think funny moment, also my absolute favorite moment of the issue is the same thing, and it's when Crow shows up to do his thing, and they telepathically ask him, "Can you handle it?" And as he puts on his sunglasses, he just says, "Absolutely not."
Have I been? Is it Crow? Am I calling him Core even though his name's Crow?
Honestly, I didn't catch what you were, which way you said it, but I think it's Crow. Oh, yeah, Crow, you're terrible, Mr. Crow.
Yeah, I totally had Core in my notes, so I've been calling him Core like a jackass, but that's okay. So, if anyone watches, they can leave angry comments in the.
Exactly. Give us the engagement.
Give us the engagement. Ironically, I'm going to segue into how Crow is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters, though.
Very much so.
He's like, so good in this issue.
Everything about him, like every time he pops up on a page, I'm just like, okay, we're going to get something real good.
Well, and even the narration about him, the thing about like the deviants don't live long, but he's an exception, and then it just goes through all the horrible things he's had to live through. Just powerful shit. Mm-hmm. Powerful stuff.
Oh.
Uranos. This build-up is just insane at this point. Like, the closest thing I can compare it to, just because you and I have been talking with all the current AEW, like, controversial stuff going on, pro wrestling, it feels like when they deep plant, like, a character's turn for a long time, and, like, you just know it's coming, but just hearing every time he shows up, it's like, nah, I'm going to mess up stuff later. I'll be back. Don't worry. Oh, no, you can't judge me yet. I haven't wrecked stuff yet. I'm just so on the edge of my seat for when the chains finally come off and we just see him unleashed.
Exactly. To extend the metaphor, I am waiting for the Powerbomb Symphony of Uranus.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm waiting for him to go full Wardlow because it's coming and I can feel it coming. It's such a good build-up, though. Like, it really is, especially because of showing the hour of Uranus first.
Yep.
And now he's just sitting back waiting, just like...
Anyone who skipped X-Men Red probably doesn't get the hype, but for us, seeing him get unleashed and then releashed and then being teased about it makes it so good.
Oh, yeah. You know, like, the true destruction that is coming.
Another pointless Star Fox. Like, I don't know why we wasted 3 pages on seeing the same scene again.
Yeah.
I get that it actually literally added dialogue, but there was nothing new there.
No,
we gained nothing beyond what we gained from Judgment Day 3.
They could literally have cut it off right after they actually opened the door. Right? They could have done all the way up to the opening of the door and then
just showed the actual interaction. You're right.
Yeah.
But I think maybe this was not always meant to be a full-length mini. I think maybe we have a little bit of padding here, and that's why this issue felt a little extra, was I think because this is also running like 4 issues, right? So we've got 6 issues out of Judgment Day proper, and then this is going to run for 4. I bet you he originally wanted to do like a 2-issue arc and then got roped into more.
That would make a lot of sense, honestly. Especially because, like, even some of the judgments that they give for, like, some of the Eternals and stuff, I'm like, okay.
I get that it was to build the tension between the whatever we're calling the outlaw Celestials, but that felt so unnecessary. Like, I don't understand the Celestials like logic there.
Yeah.
Well, y'all wanted to activate me, but he was willing to tell your enemies about me, so he passes. That out of all of the ones that don't quite make sense to me, that one kind of makes the least sense to me. But
yeah, it's hard to figure out. This is the one that gives me pause, and like not in a good way, just in a I'm confused by it way.
Well, and I like to think we're still in the middle of a story, so maybe, but it also kind of felt like we were just padding some space there.
No, absolutely. And that is, at the end of the day, we are in the middle of it. So who knows? This could actually end up being like really important and very good.
And to be clear, I really enjoyed this issue. Like,
yes, very much so.
We will probably talk some issues today, even, or through this event, issues I regret reading or like would have been fine having skipped. I'm not going to skip any of these. I really enjoyed it. It just, some of it felt superfluous.
Absolutely.
Marauders number 6 opens with Lockheed watching The Theater of Pain, with Scratch giving a monologue about Brother Love's twisted version of Professor X's dream of mutants and humans coexisting. Then Fabian Cortez, Kitty Pryde, and Cassandra Nova wait at the reforming gate to rescue the mutants trapped in Legion's altar. We meet Birdie, who is joining the crew as a psychic medic of sorts at the request of Aurora. The team will take a 10-minute nap, and she will help each revisit, decompress, understand their judgment. She has Bishop psychically recap his, which came in the form of his old XSE teammates Malcolm and Randall, questioning why haven't they been revived yet? And he tells them it's not that they aren't good enough to be revived, it's that the world around them isn't good enough yet. Birdie doesn't let him reveal whether he passed or failed. Next, we see Aurora's judgment and see all of her personalities interacting. Tempo, Psylocke, and Somnus all follow, each face their past. Somnus is able to kick the progenitor out of his dream. Dakin is the last to be judged, and when confronted about his name, seemingly adopts Fang as his new official name. He says that Akihiro was assigned to him at birth, and Dakin was a weapon they used against him, so he wants to go by Fang. Birdie debriefs the entire team, who then reunite with Kitty, Fabian, and Nova and prepare to assault the progenitor directly. Then we see Judas Traveler, an evil psychologist for Orcus, musing that everything is coming together to truly villainize the mutants. Then we get a data page from Cerebra, who joined the team last issue, and she shares her excitement at being in the Age of Krakoa, this legendary time in history from where she's from. I enjoyed this issue, but it is all over the place. Oh my god, this run is including so much stuff. Theater of Pain, Orcus, it has the Legion crossover going on, which spoils a huge chunk of Legion of X, and Nitpick Corner, but we get the obscure Scratch, the rat had a name. I didn't write down the name, but the rat in the rafters that Lockheed sees is another obscure 90s character that I had to look up to remind myself about. There is so much going on. Just Orlando is just packing in here. And some of it's too much. Like the last time we saw the Theater of Pain stuff was issue 2. I had to go back and reference it to remember what the whole Lockheed thing was about. And then it was only those first 2 pages. We never went back to dealing with it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? It's not that it's bad. It's just that we're trying to do so much, and in trying to do so much, nothing really gets its time that it's due.
I really enjoyed the psychological debrief stuff.
Yeah,
they could have used those extra 6 or 8 pages to expand those. I could have done a whole issue of this was basically a bottle episode where in between arcs they explore each character a little bit, but then we got all these extra pieces thrown in just to stack on stack on stack. Plus the Legion spoilers. This issue was a lot.
It was a ton. The spoilers, really, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Well, and it's frustrating because I don't understand why we needed that section at all. They could have had I assume they just didn't. They don't want to give away Kitty's thing, and you couldn't have Nova's judgment. But you could have had them off on their own doing anything else that wasn't spoiling another major book.
Yeah. It's just, it's not right.
It's rough. Like, this book takes way too much energy out of me to sit down and parse through to make sure I don't miss any references, like the mouse that didn't end up doing anything. Like,
Yeah.
I googled it at the beginning of the book to remind myself because I recognized the design. Was like, who's that again? And then he never shows up.
I agree. When you said it takes the most energy to like get through it, like I agree with that. I had to, like pause a few times and be like, okay, I need to go back and reread this because I think I missed something. And it turns out I didn't miss something because I didn't read it. It's just that there's so much happening I didn't process it.
Well, and it's really cool that Orlando wants to tie in all of these things, like bringing in Cerebra, but he didn't actually bring her in. We met her last issue, and then we get a data page about her this time, and she's not actually in the book.
Yeah.
Or like Birdie. I didn't remember Birdie. Once I Googled, it's very cool that we're using Birdie, but like another obscure one. All of the characters in the actual visions that each character went through, there was tons of characters that I don't remember seeing recently. So it was all really cool, but it is heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's
Heavy
a lot.
lore.
Yeah, heavy lore. And I mean, the heavy lore and just heavy thematically.
Yeah. Oh my god, is Judgment getting personal and cruel at this point? Like,
yeah.
Like some of it doesn't feel like it's an excuse to judge people. It's just an excuse to needle them. Like he's just looking for how to punish each character. And then I do like the like storytelling device of not telling us whether they pass or fail. But I also kind of feel like every single person failed, right? In this issue.
Certainly feels that way. I think so. I mean, especially like with Fang, Akihiro, Dawkin, just I'm not looking to justify. I'm done with that. It's just like that.
If we come to find out Bishop passed, I could believe that because he gave a good defense. It didn't seem like Progenitor bought it, but maybe he passed. I don't think anyone else this issue passed.
Oh, I don't think so either. Bishop's the only one that I could buy right now.
Yeah. I did really like that scene. I liked seeing, again, obscure characters, but I liked seeing old teammates and his explanation of like no one knew how I loved them. Like he dug that out of my own mind that I loved those guys and I missed those guys. That was a powerful scene.
That was really powerful. And I've always liked Bishop a lot, so that was cool to see.
Well, and I don't know if you might have more, might not be quite segueing, but like as a Dawkin Akihiro fan, you feasted this week, sir.
I was feeling good about it. I was like, oh, we just getting a themed week about Dawkin? Okay. That was great.
We'll get into it. He doesn't look great in any of it. Like a lot of it is about his flaws, but it was a lot of fun.
And I mean, like at the end of the day, that's a lot of what I've always liked about Dawkin. It's just like his flaws. He is not a great guy. Yeah, I mean, let's dive into New Mutants if you want. Like, so
New Mutants 29. Yeah. Akihiro attacks Warpath in his home, revealing after a brief brawl that Gabby is missing. He blames Warpath and the rest of the New Mutants. They track her scent to the portal she went through, which happens to lead straight to an Orcus facility. They fight their way through the facility while bonding over their feelings of failure as siblings. Eventually, they find out Gabby's already left. When they get home, Gabby's there to greet them. Tells him Akihiro, which is what he goes by through this entire issue, tells Akihiro she was trying to get pizza and went through the wrong gate. He buys the story, but Warpath knows better. She admits to him that she did want the pizza, but once she got there, she just wanted to help out, so she started clearing out the base. The issue ends with a heartfelt letter where Gabby asks Akihiro to back off, go back to being the supportive big brother, instead of an overprotective hard ass. This was absolutely 100% unequivocally a filler issue. But this is a filler issue done right. I really liked this issue.
I loved this issue. The way I kind of looked at this issue, and I know it's not really what it is, but it almost felt like when a TV show does a backdoor pilot for a spinoff, this is what a Wolverine's comic would be.
Absolutely.
And
No, it's funny because I think
that.
we talked about that last week, right? How badly I think we both want a Wolverine's ongoing, and this felt like a backdoor. Or I would also accept like a Doc and Proudstar like crossover or like buddy cop, because they had a cool dynamic. I liked watching them bicker.
Yeah, that was a dynamic that I enjoyed more than I thought I was going to. Like, I thought it was going to be cool to begin with, but I was just like, oh, this is actually really great.
I also just want more Proudstar content, period. Like, we need both of those. We need both of those men in like everything.
Yes. Honestly, like I would love to see way more of, both of them everywhere. I'd like to see the threads picked up from Nyla Rose's one shot, like
that was such a good one shot,
and an ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you feel like I think Dawkins a little justified to be mad at the New Mutants?
Yeah.
Like for all the crap they've got going on, why are they letting little kids go fight?
Right.
Like, how did they not learn from Xavier? Like Xavier's example.
Yeah, I mean, half the time people are, crucifying Xavier for his child soldiers, and now they're just letting it happen again.
And I'm sorry, I don't care if resurrection's on the table. You see your little sister die, that's gonna change you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and part of it goes back to the whole, like, Nightcrawler's issue in Way of X, where, like, the younger mutants just don't care about death because it's been taken off the table. And he's like, no, life is still sacred. And that kind of ties into this idea, only in a different way. The loss of life is traumatic to those who love it. Like, seeing someone die is seeing someone die.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's something that's getting planted in more and more works as I hate to say it, as we're getting closer and closer to what I assume is the end of the Krakoa era eventually. We're seeing a lot more of those cracks.
Yeah, all signs are pointing to that. No matter how far it may be, we are getting there.
Yeah. Which I feel like this is off the topic of New Mutants now, so we can cut this if this conversation goes nowhere. But I feel like we can't completely do away with Krakoa. Like, I don't think the end of Krakoa is what a lot of people are picturing, of like it's goes away and they just act like it never happened. I think what's much more likely to happen is the vast majority of mutants leave as like some of the political machinations get found out, and it just becomes another place that's sometimes visited. I don't imagine that 10 years from now there just won't be a Krakoa. Like, I feel like we're too embedded now, and it is too much a piece of the Marvel world.
I don't think that there is a reality at this point in where there is no island nation of Krakoa, and it's never talked about ever again, like you're saying. Maybe it's not a sovereign nation that's an actual power.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the base that the X-Men operate out of. I have to agree with that. Absolutely. I think, the end of the Krakoan era is not the end of Krakoa. It's just the shift in how it's treated.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we're nearing within the next maybe two years, being conservative.
Yeah, probably.
Wolverine?
Yeah, sure.
Unless you had more New Mutants. It's like I said, it was kind of a filler issue, so I didn't have a ton to say on it, but I did really enjoy it. I was excited for you because I knew that's your boy.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It was very much a filler issue, but as you said, it's my boy. I was feasting, just getting some personal content. It was great.
And it was your first issue back in on this New Mutants, right? Because you'd been skipping it, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I hadn't really been in on New Mutants, and what a great one to get me back in on.
In a running theme this week, we open with the progenitor testing Wolverine by showing him everyone he's ever killed, well, probably not ever, and asking him to justify his existence. He's given 24 hours to prove himself. Hellbride, whom Wolverine stole the Muramasa swords from in X of Swords, reveals to the demon the Beast that she's leaving Hell and getting her vengeance. She attacks Solemn in San Francisco, where he's partying it up, instead of helping with any of the Judgment Day conflict. The Hellbride faces Judgment and is given 24 hours to get revenge. Wolverine heads to the Summers house on the moon to prove himself worthy and is attacked by Solemn. They brawl over the swords, eventually striking a deal. Solemn helps Wolverine kill the Progenitor. Wolverine will help Solemn kill the Hellbride. Meanwhile, the Hellbride has a change of heart, decides she'd rather see the world end, heads to see the Celestial, and in the end seems to turn them into an avatar of himself. Not sure I 100% understood that scene, but that's what it looked like. Let me ask, is this a Judgment Day tie-in, or is this an X of Swords tie-in issue?
Yes.
I will be honest. I think I've said this on here before. Since House and Power, X of Swords is by far my favorite of the X events. Like, I loved X of Swords. I got to read it collected, so the pacing issues weren't there for me that a lot of people complained about. So I loved revisiting Solemn and the Hellbride and all of that. Like, that was really fun for me.
No, absolutely. It was a good issue. Absolutely, especially like, revisiting all of those really great parts of X of Swords.
That said, we were talking about like maybe different writers don't get the rules of Judgment. Why are all of these characters the ones that happen to be getting the 24 hours? Like, everyone Percy's writing is getting this completely different rule set, and that's really striking.
Well, not only that, but like, how can Wolverine be judged? Because like, here's the thing about Wolverine: he doesn't like anything about himself. However, he knows that he is the best he is at what he does, and what he does ain't nice. So,
all accurate, all true.
He knows that he's the best at what he does, so in that, he passes, right? He doesn't like that he's the best, so would he fail? Or does he pass because he's aware that he doesn't like it?
I do like that he hears, you have 24 hours to prove yourself, and his first thought is, I'm going to go get my swords and kick the shit out of you. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's who he is to a T.
If we're talking about getting the swords, though, I have a nitpickish... No, this is a full-blown nitpick corner. At first, I thought it was just nitpickish, but it's a full nitpick corner. Okay, so he heads to the Summers house on the moon, which we have not seen since the X-Men moved to San Francisco. Like, the Summers apparently abandoned it. We also had, in Dan Slott's terrible Fantastic Four run, the moon got destroyed in the Reckoning War. Just gone. And then at the end, Uatu the Watcher recreates the moon. He also recreated the Summers house that's been abandoned. He rebuilt the empty house and decided to rebuild Muramasa swords, these things that Muramasa put his soul into somehow, and put him in the exact place where Wolverine could show up and go get them. Is that a priority for Uatu the Watcher?
No.
Like, maybe I misread that. Maybe like it was more of a reset, but I really read it as he was recreating the moon. I know we're not a Fantastic Four podcast, and thank God we're not, but I'm kidding. I'm really excited for the Ryan North stuff. Hickman's Fantastic Four is one of my favorite runs, but I'm really glad we didn't have to cover Dan Slott's run. But anyways.
No, like, very honestly, I've been wanting to jump back onto Fantastic Four, but,
the Dan Slott of it all. I get, like, you make continuity work the way you want, but, like, for all Dan Slott talks about, like, putting the toys back in the toy box or whatever, why destroy the moon for a month and a half and cause all of these weird, like, continuity? Like, you have to suspend belief, and I don't know. Maybe I'm complaining for the sake of complaining, but, like, that's all I could think about was, like, oh, and he put it right back where it was. There's no dust. Like, that's really cool. Good on Uatu for giving him a nice, exactly how it was Summers house.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, it seems like such a weird... I'm trying to figure it out. I'll be honest, it confused me.
I'm glad at least it didn't just dawn on me, that it also dawned on you that, like, hey, I thought the moon was gone.
Yeah.
I do like that Solemn seems to be working out another deal with Wolverine. Like, I feel like they have a really good. We talked about how like kind of old the Deadpool and Wolverine interactions get. I find the Solemn Wolverine interactions much more fresh. Like, I feel like they make a good duo. So if we're getting 2 or 3 issues of them working together, I'm gonna really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
I could go with some more of those two working together.
the Bride coming back was cool. I do wonder, like, did you picture the Beast being cooler?
Absolutely, I did.
Like, at this point, we've had 40 years, 30 years of Daredevil fighting his minions, and we've seen the Punisher now is working as the Fist of the Beast, and like, it's like the least cool demon out of all the Marvel demons. Like,
It's a really,
no wonder Mephisto ain't scared.
yeah. Why would they be? Like it's just okay.
I just, if you're gonna finally show us, and maybe we've seen him somewhere else, but like, I don't know. I pictured the Beast as cooler.
Yeah, I'm like trying to look at him right now, and I'm just like, it's so plain.
It's a great way to put it. Plain is like the ultimate descriptor there.
And I shouldn't be saying that a demon looks plain.
Yeah.
Not a bad issue, just confusing choices around it.
100%. 100%. Not a bad it. That's the way to describe it. Just some weird choices that I feel like describes a lot of what Piercy does. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do a new kind of catch up segment because some of these issues just aren't worth dedicating a whole segment to. I'm calling Around the Marvel Universe. All right, that was a little embarrassing. Around the Marvel Universe. All right, I really liked She-Hulk #6 this week, and it had, as we talked about last week, a cameo from our boy Nightcrawler. It was more than a cameo. He showed up, and he had a big ask for Jennifer. He recruited Jennifer to represent Krakoa, all of Krakoa. She is the lawyer for mutant kind. I love it.
It's great. I think that's a great idea. I thought it was a fun issue. I enjoyed She-Hulk 6 so much.
Yeah, fantastic. X-Men and Moon Girl. I read it. It existed.
It is a comic book that I read this week that had the word number or the letter X in it.
That's all there is to say on it.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up the Dark Web checklist that dropped.
Yeah.
We are dedicated. We love you guys, and we read everything X related for you. And if you're wondering what that adds up to, that is Dark Web #1, Dusk. That is Amazing Spider-Man 15, Amazing Spider-Man 16, Dark Web X-Men #1, Dark Web X-Men #2, Dark Web Miss Marvel, Mary Jane and Black Cat, Gold Goblin #2, Venom 14, Amazing Spider-Man #17, Amazing Spider-Man #18, Dark Web Miss Marvel #2, Dark Web X-Men #3, Mary Jane and Black Cat #2, Gold Goblin #3, Venom 15, Venom 16, and Dark Web Finale #1, Dawn. So in the matter of what looks to be really 2 months and a single week in February, that is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18 issues in about 9 weeks.
Yeah, that is it is a choice that they are making, and I'm not stoked about it.
We love you guys. Please recognize our sacrifice.
Please recognize our sacrifice and the fact that one of my favorite books is getting brought into all this mess as well. I'm so mad that Venom is a part of this.
As much as I love Rom V, I just hope they're Rom V issues and we're not messing up Al Ewing's arc for Eddie.
Yeah. God.
Also, not on the checklist, but considering it, like Gold Goblin 1 has to tie in at least a little, knowing that the Gold Goblin whole story is tied up in the Dark Web, and there's only one issue of this series before it gets thrown into the crossover. So make it 19. I'll read Gold Goblin 1.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a #1, I feel like, and it's that close, it's like a have to thing. Speaking of #1s, though, my nitpick, my pet peeve corner.
Let's do it.
I hate when one shots are given a number one.
Yeah.
Like I think you mentioned it with what was it? Dark Web finale number 1 Dawn and Dark Web number 1 Dusk, like that kind of thing.
I'm hoping those are working titles.
I'm
So
hoping
this was
so.
kind of a leak checklist, and they're in parentheses. So I'm hoping that it's literally just called like Dark Web Dusk and Dark Web Dawn, and then the rest of the name gets thrown away. But who knows? We'll find out as we get closer.
Yeah, we'll
That's
see.
December into the very beginning of February. That's the great crossover.
Yeah, that's this crossover that's going to happen, and
Which means it's going to overlap with Season of Sinister, which means at that point I'm really not going to be caring anymore.
Yeah. Sin to Sinister is going to start, and I'm going to be like, Dark Web who? Like what? But we'll read them.
Because we love you guys.
Because we care.
All right. Every week, we ask a question and solicit community answers, either in the comments or have you email them to us at arakkopublicradio@gmail.com. Last week's question, if you could steal one DC character and make them an X-Man, who would it be? Our buddy, The Broken Record, sent, if I could steal one DC character for the X-Men, it's got to be Signal. He's a metahuman anyways, and then he might actually end up getting some damn recognition. I feel like he'd fit right in and end up friends with one of the Summer siblings. All right. 1, I love that idea. 2, yes, we absolutely need so much more Signal content.
Yes,
Number 3,
to all accounts.
Number 3, bro, he could not hang with the Summers. The Summers would drive him crazy. Any one of them would drive him insane with their neuroses.
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah. That's a fair point, actually. They have a lot going on there. Although, you know what? To be fair, he does have to hang out with the Bat Fam, who is like the guidebook on neuroses.
This is true. Is Cyclops really that much more of an upgrade in craziness compared to Bruce Wayne?
Right, exactly.
I will give it to you. Is Havoc an equal trade for Jason Todd?
I was just about to say, I mean, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, all right. I will give you that one. Did you have an answer?
I had to think about it for a while, and I was trying to come up with kind of like a good, unique answer that wasn't just a character in DC that I really like. But I ended up going with a DC character that I really like. And I would, obviously you'd have to change obviously you'd have to change like the origin of how it happened and everything, but I would go Midnighter.
Okay, he would fit in really well. That's a great
to have like a fight computer brain as a mutant ability. I think would be really neat, and I personally would really love to see Midnighter with like Wolverine in a team up.
I love it. Okay, so I kind of ended up cheating in a way, I guess you could say. I landed on, if I could bring anyone over, I'd want the entire Legion of Superheroes.
Okay.
I think that the way that the teams are interacting on Krakoa, you got like the New Mutants have their section of the island, and X-Force has their thing going on. I feel like the dynamic of some of like Stilt Boy and Polar Boy, like there's just a level that if they got dislocated in time and universe, they would fit right in with the various X clans, and I feel like would be really fun.
Yeah, you know what? I like that answer a lot. That would be a blast.
All right, so for this week, we are asking, with D23 happening, if you could have exactly one fan cast as we introduce mutants to the MCU, what would it be? I'm excited to hear what people come up with. I know there's a couple big ones that are always floating, but I want to hear the unique, like, if you could just cast anyone in any single role, I want to hear it.
Yeah, I hope we get like some really unique ones. Everyone loves Giancarlo Esposito. I get it. I want something unique.
Absolutely. All right. Next week, a little bit of a reprieve in amount of content, but I have a feeling the quality is going to be through the roof. We've got Axe, Judgment Day number 4. We've got X-Men Red number 6, which is an Axe tie-in. We have The Amazing Spider-Man number 9, which is a Hellfire Gala tie-in. And then X-Men 92, House of 92 in Roman numerals, number 5, which we're actually going to be discussing the entire thing. We're going to read the whole run because we skipped it so far until we realized how amazing the premise was. So if anyone hasn't read it yet, by the time you watch the next episode, binge that and we can all talk about it together.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. I'm still hung up on a Hellfire Gala tie-in when we're halfway through Axe, but okay.
I think that book, which when has John Romita Jr. ever been on time? Which you'd think with the quality of his art, I know some love it. You'd think he'd be able to stay on time, but
I mean, honestly, what's taking so long?
it was a full 3 issues behind at one point. So that, I mean, if you go back 3 months, like Hellfire Gala, it would have fit. But all right, I think that does it for us this week. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out, chatting all things mutants with us. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do follow us on all the socials. I'm that nerdy Papa Bear on Instagram, YouTube, and especially TikTok. I kind of forget to post on the other two. Keegan is Bulk Ranger on Twitter and TikTok. As just those two, right?
Yeah, I think yeah. I don't got an Instagrammer yet.
And to me, my X-Men. I don't know what other catchphrase. We'll come up with a catchphrase.
Come up with one.